I absolutely love it. Like
Oh, okay.
Hey everyone, we are back with a new video, and yes, we are talking about Stranger Things once again. And I have a new guest, Andrew, who's here, and he wanted to call it Stranger Things. I watched it in 2 weeks, and now I hate Dustin, and I'm calling it Why You're Wrong with Whitney and Andrew. So
wait, we didn't discuss this.
I'm taking over. So
yeah, we need to first clarify that this is my first public appearance on YouTube without the shades. I still going with the black shirt and the chain, but no shades this time because you all need to see my eyes as I describe why I can't stand Dustin. But take it away.
I want to hear your ranking of the seasons first because they're fresh in your mind. I want to know what you're thinking.
I keep going back and forth on season 1 and season 4 as like my favorite. And it's kind of tough to tell because season 4 isn't like completely out. So I would say like as of right now, I still have season 1 like as the best. And I say that because the first couple of episodes of season 4 kind of got on my nerves a little bit.
Really?
And then, yeah, the first like 3, I was like, I kind of hung in there because you told me like episode 4 was going to be amazing, and it was. So, but then honestly, like everybody talks about episode 4, but episode 5, I thought like the aftermath of it was just as good, if not better. I felt like, and then 4, 5, 6, and 7 is out, right? I think those are all excellent. So I would go season 1, season 4, and then I have a hard time picking between which one I hate more between season 3 and season 2. I think I like season 3 a bit better than season 2. I think the tiebreaker is just episode 7 of season 2. Just kind of killed it for me. But I really don't like a lot of the character decisions that went into season 3. But at least it was visually appealing. Like I did like the heavy 80s nostalgia and like the neon and the bright. I thought it would made for a better like visual experience.
Yeah, they definitely leaned into the 80s aesthetic in season 3, or I guess I should say like the stereotypical 80s aesthetic, because honestly, seasons 1 and 2 where everything was just kind of brown and green, and that is like what everyone wore in the early 80s. So it seemed, I mean, as disappointing as it is, it wasn't all neon lights and hot pink and Madonna gloves until like mid to late 80s, and then
But then in season 4 they kind of like run it back because I like 11 was getting these fits off in season 3. Like wardrobe was impeccable, and then season 4 part 1, like she's wearing like these bland outfits. I'm like, how are we going backwards? Like this is not adding up.
I have some issues with season 4 11's style, because why did we go back? Why did we have this whole montage of her learning what style she likes and all the stuff with Max at the mall? And then in season 4 she's wearing like turquoise sweatpants and a brown flannel.
Why
is
and
it
like
helping her?
The dress like with like the I think she was wearing like a white t-shirt under the dress, but then like the dress is like patched.
She had a flannel under that like pattern dress. Why isn't anyone helping her? Like even Will, Joyce, anyone? They had to know.
Well, she's getting bullied. That's why nobody's helping her. And I get
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like that could have been avoided if someone would have just said that doesn't go together.
Yeah. Anyone. But what's your season ranking?
So I go season 1, and I'm preemptively saying season 4 because I love it so much. I still have to see the last 2 episodes, but I can't imagine that it would disappoint. Season 3, season 2. Season 2 is my least favorite. I mean, I hate the Callie episode, but I hate it because it's such a bottleneck. I feel like if they had literally put it at any other space in the season, it could have worked. But because we have to go away from all the problems they're having in Hawkins to focus on this one character who we've never met before outside of Hawkins, and I don't really care. Like I just want to see what's happening.
I think Netflix, like backdoor pilots as a concept, works a lot better with cable television than like the Netflix model. Because backdoor pilots, if you're like waiting week to week, it's just a whole different experience versus like you're trying to binge through and get to the resolution of the story, and then they're like, okay, but just kidding, we're gonna take it to I don't know, was it Chicago? Yeah, it's like that's the momentum is just halted.
Yeah, and it the direction of that episode, and there were a lot of anachronistic things that happened that were kind of confusing with the graffiti and everything like that. It was referring to something, I can't remember off the top of my head. It was referring to something that hadn't happened yet, and it just did not work for me. And I didn't even find Callie or anyone in her crew likable. So
no, nobody. I didn't even find 11 likable.
No, they weren't likable. They were not, none of them. Like, and the acting wasn't great on any of their parts. So it was just a strange episode in general. But that's honestly not my biggest complaint. My biggest complaint in season 2 is Mike. Finn Wolfhard's take on Mike. He's so angry. He is so mean and angry the entire season.
To everyone.
Yes. Yes.
Will's in a coma and he's like yelling at him like, bro, buddy, let's take it easy.
Calm down. Yeah. So I go 1, 4, 3, 2.
Okay, so we agree then, basically.
I love, there is a huge section of the fandom that hates season 3. I absolutely love it. Like okay. It was hard. I would have, before 4, it was 1, 3, 2. I would have ranked season 3. It's just, it feels lighter and happier, and I love the mall setting, and I would have.
Well, it was kind of, it's weird for me because so in 2 weeks I watched the whole series, and I did that because of our episode of Pop 5. Behind the scenes, Whitney was bullying me into watching it, but anyway. Sorry. So I
do.
It was kind of, it's like whiplash seeing some of the characterizations from seasons 1 and 2 into season 3. Like, I really did not enjoy the Joyce Hopper dynamic at all in season 3. Like, I felt like Hopper went from actual policeman, actual copper, doing his job, to action hero who bickers with divorced mom, or like it was like too much. It's like, this, you didn't show any of this.
I love
it. His temper was like obviously in season 2 he would get annoyed with 11 a little bit, things like that, but I just felt like from who he was in season 1, season 2 felt natural because this is like the first time he's parenting a teenager, to season 3 where he's just like kind of like what you said about Mike, just like angry at everything and just kind of like bickering for the tiniest things.
I've seen several complaints about that too. So you're not alone in thinking that Hopper was kind of over the top with his actions, but I love it. I love his Magnum PI mustache and all of it.
But that's not who he was in the first 2 seasons. Like, it just seems like, that's why I'm saying I got whiplash, because it's just like out of nowhere.
Emphasize, why did it get so much bigger in season 3? It was like a life of its own, like coming off his face.
Right. Yeah.
That is
true. Away. It popped more than 11's outfits. I'll tell you that. Like, when I think of season 3, I just think mustache. That's it.
Mustache and Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
And him saying,
he's in Indiana.
Right? I feel like that was a big thing, though. I feel like it was Miami Vice inspired. He was.
No, it was. You could definitely tell the inspirations. I just felt like, from brown police uniform, muted personality, who was more a detective, wanted to get to the bottom of things and protect, to I'm going to argue with Joyce every chance I get because I have teen angst, except I'm not the teen, I'm parenting the teen.
No, he was in love with her.
Yeah. But speaking of Joyce, like, she fed into it too much too, so to the point where I got annoyed with her, because then it's like, well, I am a mother and Will disappeared a couple years ago, so I am going to play the frantic mother at all times who's anxious about every sound that happens.
That's her vibe, though. She's just, if I was as nervous as Joyce Byers was, the lady is just on edge 24 hours a day. I would have died of a heart attack years ago.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is like the characters, to a point, and I think this is my beef with a lot of like season 2 and season 3, like, they don't really evolve, right? In season 1, a lot of their interactions and choices and decisions make sense because you put yourself in their position. We're in the 80s, like, they're aliens or whatever, from their perception, like things that we don't understand, and if I tried to explain it to somebody, they would totally think I'm crazy. And so I totally get that. And that's why the writing doesn't frustrate me. Like, okay, why are they not telling other people? Well, because it sounds dumb.
Yeah.
But then seasons 2 and season 3, like, you know that you could die, right? And you know that there are weird forces at play in the area that you live. So if you see something, you should probably say something, but then they don't, and they don't communicate with each other, with the other people that know that this kind of stuff is possible. And it just kind of gets frustrating.
In season 3, it's more frustrating for me than season 2. I didn't get that as much from season 2. I guess with the kids, maybe, but the only one they could tell was Joyce. And by the time the kids figured out what was going on with Will, that's when they told Joyce. I was frustrated with Dustin, I'll give you that, in season 2, because very obviously that was definitely a creature from the Upside Down. And,
Yeah, and even if it wasn't, like, once he realized, he still kept it from his friends. And I was just like, Dustin, you are stupid.
No,
I hate to say this, but you are not intelligent.
As soon as Dart ate his cat, like Muse, I feel like he called Steve for backup.
Okay, but what about, like, telling your friends the truth? And
he didn't see that.
But I think before it got to that point, like, he was lying about it before, like, and knowing that it was growing at a rate that is not normal for normal, reptiles or whatever. Even so, like, I remember the kids had that conversation, right? And then they split up in the school, and correct me if my details are fuzzy, but they split up in the school to look for Dart. Mm-hmm. He found Dart in the bathroom, and then was like, nope, nothing here. And then I think hit him in his hat. At that point, that's when I was like, all right, this is getting dumb.
I'll give you that. It was kind of dumb. But you have to remember, they're children. They're middle school children, and it was his pet. So,
but they are middle school children that have literally faced, like, near-death experiences with otherworldly figures, and he has one sitting on top of his head.
As much as I love animals, I can't say that I wouldn't do the same. I would maybe keep Dart for myself. Until it grew too big to, devour me. So
okay, that's a choice.
Season 3, though, Will, I apologize to Noah Schnapp. I wanted to strangle him, because he would get his little chills on his neck, and it would take him 10 minutes to tell his friends, like, oh, there's something coming. Yeah, buddy, we know it. You have to tell people. We have to let him know.
Will's entire performance from, like, season 3 onward has been, my spidey senses are tingling.
Yes.
And that's it. And then he doesn't do anything else for the rest of the episode.
Yes. And there is a whole faction of people that think that Will has some, and maybe I will eat my words and I will apologize if this is the case. They believe that Will is the main character over 11, and I don't see it. I feel like
Will hasn't been the main character since season 3 started. Like, they have nothing for him to do.
The main character, maybe in season 2.
No, but, like, at this point, he's a side character. Like, if you could say the main characters are the kids, like, at this point, he's, like, even a cut below them, because he has had nothing to do the last 2 seasons.
So there's a whole faction of people that believe that Will created the Upside Down or has some strong connection to the Upside Down. They think he's going to get powers at some point, which I agree that he has a connection to the Mind Flayer, but if he has powers, why doesn't he use them?
Right. Also, how could he have created the Upside Down if the Upside Down was around since Victor Creel was a kid, right?
I'm sure, well, that's an old theory, so I'm sure that's been,
gotcha.
Sidelined at this point. But they believe that everyone's thinking, why did he get chosen by the Demogorgon? And I don't think he was chosen. I think he was wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, but that was obvious.
Yeah, and then there's the whole thing where they think they're curious as to why he could survive in the Upside Down for a week. And I feel like they explain it with, even I think Mike says it, he's really good at hide and seek. And I feel like that was just their way of saying he always knows the best places to hide.
Plot armor. And that's totally fine, because sometimes plot armor is not that bad. It's okay.
Yeah, so I feel I will totally, eat my words and apologize if he ends up being, some sort of main person in all of this, but he was the catalyst that set it off, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think I will say this: Noah Schnapp had the best performance of all the kids in the first 2 seasons. I felt like his character was making dumb decisions in season 2, but he was acting his butt off. Like I thought he did a really great job of portraying Will. Yeah, he's a great actor. But it's kind of tough, like season 3 and season 4, because again, his character has nothing to do really. So he just does the Spidey sense thing, and that's it. But it's, as you know, in the first 2 seasons, I was like, yo, he's probably the best actor out of all these kids.
I feel like every season his bowl cut his head keeps getting bigger, but his bowl cut keeps getting smaller. So it's like inching up on his forehead. And yeah, I mean, we need to start a petition for the Duffers to give him a new hairstyle.
We really do. I feel like we could spend like a whole episode just like talking about like the fashion and the costume and design of these characters.
Yeah, I'm so curious. I saw a tweet once that was like Joyce Byers had a bowl, a pair of scissors, and a dream.
The bowl cut's really doing a lot of work. It's doing a lot of heavy lifting. It
is, and I need him to have. Because Noah Schnapp's so adorable, and that haircut is not doing him any favors.
It's not. Even if it was like the 80s, it's time to let it go. I'll tell you one other thing that I don't like, and I feel like we're spending a lot of time on the negative, so I probably want to. I don't hate the show. I love the show actually, but I will say this: like circling back to the whole Dart shenanigan. What I don't like about the show is that these characters will make at times these like asinine decisions, and then it seems like the plot rewards them for it, where it's like, so at the end, right, of season 2, they're trying to get out of the tunnel in the Upside Down, and then Dart is there, and then he's Dustin gives him a little nougat or whatever because it's their personal bond and stuff like that. Like, to me, that's like the plot saying it's actually perfect that Dustin was an idiot, and we are rewarding him by letting the kids go free in this instance because he has a personal connection.
They had a connection.
But then it's like saying like, oh, that's totally fine that you were an idiot because it'll all work out in the end. And it's just like,
it did, didn't it? It all worked out.
Season 4, Robin going completely off the rail. I actually enjoyed the monologue though, like when she was talking to the professor or the warden of the
about
place. Yeah. And she's just like going off the rails. Like, this is a really dumb thing to do, but the plot rewards her for it. And then they end up walking away from the psych place knowing that music is the answer. And it's just like, come on. That's not.
No, you're wrong. Why you're wrong with Whitney Danhauer. I think it was a last ditch effort. They weren't getting anywhere with Nancy's, plan to see Victor Creel. So she was robbing through every last thing that she had at the wall to see what would stick. And her lack of a filter weaseled them into seeing Victor Creel.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not the best example because I'm trying to think through like 4 seasons of content right now. And I know that I had this thought a lot. The biggest thought was the whole season 2 ending with like Dart letting them pass and all that with the other demidogs. Like that, but there were other examples. I just can't think of them right now. But it's just like stuff where it's like, this is a really dumb decision, and I hate that it's working out. Like, there should be consequences for being like stupid aggressively.
You can't name it; it doesn't count.
Oh, so. Come on.
Other than the Dart thing, what on earth can you have against Dustin?
Dustin discovers something, and then he's like, "Follow me," and somebody will be like, "Okay, what's going on? Just trust me." And then he'll keep running off. Like, I hate moments like that because like that is not how normal humans interact, I don't think. And it's not the actor's fault. It's not the actor's fault. I think it just comes down to writing. And I'm such a writing, like I nitpick with things like that. So this is a personal thing. But like I hate when people are like they just don't communicate. And I feel like communication could solve a lot of things. I'm sure that's like a lot of stories, but like it just stands out in Stranger Things.
I will give you somewhat credit, but for example, when Max is getting Vecna'd at Billy's grave and Dustin talks to Nancy and Robin through his walkie-talkie and he runs back up and Lucas, he said, "What's your favorite song?" And Lucas is like, "Why do you need to know? Why do you need to know?" And he is like, it doesn't matter. Just tell me what her favorite song is. Like, I get that. Why would you? You don't have time to explain this.
Right.
So sometimes it's for the greater good. And so far, Dustin has always been right. Now, I do have a theory that might change this season because he's always been right so far. So I kind of think I think, honestly, we're not sure that Dustin's right about Vecna kind of being the 5-star general for the Mind Flayer.
I think it's backwards.
I do too. I don't think they sidelined the Mind Flayer.
Yeah. And the Mind Flayer, honestly, to this point has been, I think Vecna's a great villain, but like the design behind the Mind Flayer is insanely cool. I think like that last shot of season 2 when the school flips and you have the chills. That's fantastic stuff.
Well, and even when there's a GIF out there, you don't get to see it as much when you're watching season 2, and it's when he possesses Will, the Mind Flayer does, and you don't really see it when you're watching the episode, but there's a GIF of it, and it literally looks like a tornado. It's a spider made out of a tornado, and I can't think of anything more horrifying.
Yeah, so, the whole spider connection, I didn't even think about that with Victor Creel.
Oh,
I mean, not Victor, Henry, right?
Yeah, yes, Henry Creel, not Peter Ballard, because that ruined my life. I'm so mad about it.
You all have no idea how upset Whitney was when she found out that was.
I felt so smart. If you guys don't know, I thought that when Colonel Sullivan ransacked Dr. Owen's house and his wife says, "Why are you taking that? Those are Peter's school projects." I immediately thought, oh my gosh, Dr. Owens has a connection to Peter Ballard, who was Henry Creel, and then also Vecna and number 1. And then the Stranger Riders were like, psych, it's just a fake casting name that we made.
Gotcha.
I'm not okay with that. I was ready to drive to the Duffers to talk to them.
Well, let's talk about, like, because obviously everybody knows that you love the show, but like what's the point of the show that really makes you think like this is generational television?
Oh, it would definitely be season 1. Just almost anything in season 1, honestly. When this show first came out in 2016, Netflix barely did any marketing for it. There was almost nothing out there. I remember seeing an article, and it was just saying like the show is coming and it's horror, which is my favorite genre, and it's starring Winona Ryder, who, I grew up watching Winona Ryder and I loved her. So of course, I remember I just randomly sat down on a Sunday, the summer of 2016, and watched it. And it kind of invented binge watching for me. I couldn't stop. Like, all the episodes were out and I just kept hitting play because I had no idea what to expect. They didn't really tell us. Like, it was horror, it was sci-fi, but just something about that first shot of the Demogorgon when Will is riding home and you see a silhouette, it made my stomach drop.
That was the first episode does so many things well, I think. I completely agree. And I had a similar experience just in 2022, whereas like we recorded the Pop 5 episode on a Thursday, and on Saturday I started watching, and like my wife and I couldn't stop. Like I think we finished season 1 like Sunday afternoon. Like we just nonstop. It was fantastic.
When people tell me, if I mention it and they say, "Oh, I'm not really into it," especially if they're around our age at some point, and I know it's almost been ran into the ground with nostalgia, pictures and films and all that, but they do it so well. They do it so great. And the Duffers really, and especially if you are a child who grew up on 80s films like Jaws, Indiana Jones, The Goonies, all that stuff, the Duffers take so much care into inserting those references into the show. But especially in the first season, it's not overdone. It's not hitting you over the head, with a hammer or anything like that. It genuinely feels like a show that could have been in the 80s with just technology from the future.
Did you see that there was a Reddit post on like the HVAC subreddit, and they were like complaining about an AC unit in the background when Jonathan and Steve get into a fight in season 1. And they're like, this broke my immersion completely because this AC unit couldn't have possibly been in existence in the 80s. I was cracking up watching it.
The Duffers are great, but they have plenty of anachronistic things that happen. We pick them out. Like I have a Stranger Things podcast. We pick them out in the podcast each episode, and almost every episode has one or two. So if that's going to bother you, I don't know. Do you watch any television?
Okay, but to be fair, we're talking about people that are subscribed to the HVAC subreddit. So.
Make a good point.
I will say there was one time that the nostalgia hit me over the head. The season 3, 11's, and you know what I'm talking about, the Coke scene. When 11's they're all in the supermarket, and she has a little blindfold on to try to locate. I can't remember where they're trying to locate. And then Lucas is like drinking the Coke, and he's like, fresh new flavor or something like that. That's the only time. But it's, to their credit, like that's the only time I've ever been like sucked out of the immersion of the 80s. But I think you're right that like, especially season 1, it just feels like, oh, this is not like an attempt at being in the 80s. Like I feel, immersed in the world that they're creating. So I thought that was, because it was funny, because a lot of things could be solved with like literally a cell phone and a picture. You know what I mean?
I think that's why so many current movies and shows have issues with horror. It's harder now because you are always able to contact someone. It's very rare that you don't have internet access where you're at. Like that's part of the reason it's harder to make scary stuff, because we're so connected now.
Yeah, I think that is one of the aspects of the writing that I really did enjoy, was like I didn't have to think through that of like, this doesn't make sense, because you could just call this person. Like, obviously you can't,
Yeah.
And the struggles of like being on the same channel as everyone else. Like I thought those are like little things like that. I was like, that is good writing. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So just to make it clear, I do love the show. I just can't stand like aggressively some parts of it and some characters.
It's like someone told us that we had to pick out something that we didn't like about the show.
No, it's not true. I was very open about it, but Whitney did. I will say this.
What?
We cannot end this chat without discussing the 2 best characters of the entire show. I need you to pour one out for Bob. To Bob. And Steve is the only character I feel like is constantly growing. And I mean, I've heard that he's a fan favorite, but for good reason, because that's my guy.
He was originally, they planned to kill him off. He was supposed to die in season 1.
Don't say that.
Yeah, and then Joe Keery came on set, and the Duffers loved his chemistry with the cast and loved his acting, and they were basically like, we can't let this kid go. And so I love that he really was a lot more aggressive in their original pitch, like their pitch Bible. You can find it online. I think I have an article on it that they talk about Steve, and he's way worse than real bad. So
I mean, as much of a jerk as he was in season 1, like I think that's one of the problems of the show, is that sometimes the bully, like kids are terrible, I'll say that, and bullying is real and it sucks. But I feel like at times in the show, like the bullying is just like, okay, come on, like we're getting a little bit. And maybe I'm saying that as somebody who wasn't like aggressively bullied as a child. I don't know, but I felt like Steve never felt like what he was doing, never felt like, oh, this is a terrible person that they're trying to make us like. I felt like he was just a typical jock who would do some things that are kind of annoying and kind of mean to people on occasion, but never like crossing the line of unrealistic.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he had a much more like sexually aggressive vibe towards Nancy in the original pitch. So I think that was why most people were supposed to hate him. Like it wasn't necessarily bullying. He was just too much for
manipulative, like coercive kind of.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I feel like the Duffers make this mistake every season of hiring someone that's incredibly lovable, and they're gonna, like with Bob, I feel like I haven't seen the final 2 episodes, but I don't think Eddie's making it. And
or about Argyle. I feel like Argyle, like Eddie is the red herring, and Argyle is actually gonna be the one to surprisingly die. No, he's not
No.
important enough. Okay.
No, our girl's fine, I feel like. But Eddie has, I mean, the amount of fans just swooning over Joseph Quinn these days.
I don't get it really, because like he's cool, but like I've never been in a position where I've been like, I love Eddie. Like, I don't know, like he's cool.
I love him.
I think I like him as a character. I just don't understand like why he has stands. Like, I don't really.
I mean, I get it. Like, from my 16-year-old daughter, she is obsessed with him. I told you, she has that Chrissy wake up as her alarm, which a sheer panic every time I had to wake up of a morning. Just would dread it because I would go straight into, my adrenaline would be off the charts.
No better way to start the day.
Yeah.
I'm actually, but bringing it back to Bob, what a great character. Like, there were so many times where they could have gone like typical drama, like the typical drama route with him, and he's like, no, I understand. I'm really concerned about Will. Like, let's talk about this. Let's communicate. And I was like, my guy. But his death was so obvious though. Like, I wish they would have filmed it a bit better, because it was just like, oh, he's obviously dying right now.
He was supposed to die much earlier in the season, and I believe Will was actually supposed to kill him. And after he was possessed by Vecna, and it was way earlier in the season, and it was way more violent. And then even when Sean Astin had the scene with the Demodogs, he wanted more blood, and so they filmed a version that was originally much gorier, because his scene is very gory. Like, you see him spit up blood.
Yeah But overall, like, I really do like the show, folks. I'm just making that clear. It is good television.
Whatever.
I just can't stand half of it, but it's very good. I mean, there's gonna be a fifth season, so it's gonna swing one way or the other.
I need everyone to flood the comments and tell Andrew why he's wrong. So if you are a fan, leave them in the comments down below, because I cannot stand slander against my show. So, like,
I do not respect Dustin at all. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Like, but I'm a big Steve respecter. I love Steve. So yeah, that's just what it is. I can't stand him. I will say this because I love Steve. I do think the dynamic between Steve and Dustin is very nice. Very solid.
They're one of the best duos on the show. So
that is true.
All right,
I can't stand Dustin.
All right, everyone, that about does it for this episode of our show that we sometimes talk about Stranger Things, and me just going on and on about why I love it. So if you love it, leave it in the comments down below. Always like and subscribe. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're at Cheat Sheet, and we would love to hear from you there too. So I want to thank everybody for watching, and I hope you tune in next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.